Okay, good morning. My name is Daniel Wright. I see a lot of familiar faces in the room, so I appreciate that. Uh, for anybody that doesn't know me, I'm the treasurer of the Perl Foundation. I've also organized a total of 11 Perl events so far, and including this one. I've also been involved in a number of other Perl conferences in a support role. And today, the topic is, so you want to run a Perl event. And so I'm hoping that there are at least a few of you out there that are looking at this event going on right now and saying, that seems like something I'd like to do. This seems interesting. And so my goal is to perhaps inspire you to get interested in either helping out with YAPC or to start your own conference somewhere. Now, this is a 20-minute talk today. Back in 2012, I gave a much longer talk on the subject of running events, and I won't be able to get into all the nuances that I did that time. It might be fun sometime in the future to just do like a massive brain dump of everything, but that won't be today. Today, you're just going to get the highlights. I'm going to talk about some of the things that have changed since I last gave this talk, and I'm going to try to leave some room for questions at the end, because I think that if you're here wanting to learn about running an event, you probably all have questions, and I'd like to give you an opportunity to ask some of those at the end. So hopefully, if I did a good job, you're looking at this event and saying, hey, this looks easy. I want to try this. And my response to that is, you should. But perhaps before you think about starting a YAPC, it might be a good idea to start with something a little bit smaller. I think it's a great idea if you're interested in running a Perl conference to kind of work your way up to it. So if your goal is to have a 2-day workshop somewhere, then maybe start out with a hackathon and then build up to a 1-day conference and then go to a 2-day conference, so that you can learn and go progressively. A lot of times what will happen is somebody will start out on a really big project and become overwhelmed, because there's a lot to learn. It's sort of the iceberg principle, where you have the 10% on top that everybody sees and the 90% underwater, which is your job in making a conference happen. And so it's best to approach that gradually. The biggest mistake that I've seen and I've lived through in running a conference is not having a solid vision of what your conference is going to look like whenever it actually happens. And this is so important, and it's so easy to jump over, because again, we only see the 10% of what goes on at a conference, and we're very excited about making an event happen that we don't take the time to really think about what the look and the feel of the event is going to be. And this is so important, to have a good solid vision from day one, because if you don't have a good solid vision of what you want your conference to be, you will be constantly reliving that decision-making process every step of the way. And it'll cost you a lot of time and grief and agony in the long run. The other thing that can cause you a lot of grief and agony in the long run is not having the right team to help you. There is no way that one person can run a conference. Maybe if it's a hackathon or something very simple, you can get away with a single person job. But just for example, for YAPC, we've got 4 different rooms running. There's no way one person could manage 4 different rooms at the same time. So it takes a lot of people. And the more people that you have helping you, the less that each person has to do, and the more likely that when you get to the end of the conference, everybody's still going to like each other. So building a team is important. And a part of that team for you can be the Perl Foundation. The Perl Foundation can be a part of your team. There are a number of things that TPF can help you with along the way. We have a liability insurance policy carried by the Perl Foundation. It's a $2 million single incident, $4 million aggregate insurance policy, which is what a lot of venues are going to expect from you. If you're running a conference, it doesn't matter if you're on a university campus or in a hotel, they're going to expect you to have your own insurance for in case somebody should happen to get hurt. And you'll have to provide that proof of insurance, and that's something that TPF can help you with. We have a lot of equipment that belongs to TPF in terms of projectors, cameras, audio equipment, and this is all things that can be loaned out to you. We can do your accounting for you if you want. If you want, we can accept payments for your event. We can pay out the expenses at the end. And depending on your relationship with TPF, we can even go as far as to extend a certain line of credit. For example, if you need to put a deposit down on a venue in order to hold it before you've taken any ticket income in, then TPF can help you with that as well. Fundraising is something that we've been helping out with more and more recently. It used to be if you wanted to run a conference, then it was your job to go out and get your sponsors and set up all those relationships with them. But what we found happens is sponsors don't want to have to talk to the organizer for this event and then a separate person who's the organizer for that event and a separate person here. They prefer to have someone that they know that they can talk to for everything. And so what TPF has done is transition to a model where sponsors sponsor TPF directly, and then that pot kind of gets shared amongst all the conferences. And it is working well for us. And of course, finally, we have a lot of people within the foundation that have some experience with hosting events. And if you need advice or ideas, we're happy to be there for you. And all of these things can be done while it still remains your event. We're not looking to take over your events and slap our name on it. If your Perlmonger group wants to hold a workshop, that's great. We're here to support you, not take over. So we're here for you, and we're happy to help. And so I would advise anybody that's thinking of putting together a Perl event of any sort to reach out to us and see how we can help you. So I wanted to talk very briefly about dealing with venues. And when I'm talking about a venue, I'm talking about if you're holding it in a hotel or if you're holding it on a university campus. It doesn't really matter where it is. Unless you are small enough that you're getting everything donated to you, you're going to be dealing with some sort of event manager at a hotel or wherever. And they're going to be bringing up the dirty word. And the dirty word I'm referring to is standard. The first rule of conference venue standards is that we don't talk about standards, because there is no standard. If you keep having a venue use the word, oh, we just do it the standard way. This is just standard. This is how we do it. That's a red flag, because there are no standards. The way that venue A does it is going to be different from the way venue B does it, different from the way venue C does it. Do not take anything for granted. Do not assume that it'll just be fine. You have to actually talk to your venue and get all the details. And don't be afraid to ask silly questions. Don't be afraid to ask, is it okay if we plug our computers into the outlets in the wall? Because I've had venues that have gotten upset when people have brought their own extension cords and plugged their computers into the wall. Don't be afraid to ask, how much is it going to cost us for the pitchers of water on the table? Because I've had venues that have charged me $5 per pitcher for the tap water on the table. Every venue is going to have their own little hidden gimmicks to try to make money off of you. That's the way they operate. They're a business. They're for profit. And if you're not here, they're going to have somebody else here that they can make money off of. So be aware of that. So a couple of common techniques that venues will use to try to make some money off of you. First of all, they're going to have this thing called a service charge. It's going to be hidden in their contract somewhere. And what the service charge is it's about a 20 to a 25% charge that's going to appear on your master bill at the end of the conference. That's the only place it's going to appear. Every time they send you a quote and say, oh yeah, we can do that for you, it's going to be a $50 charge for this. Or yes, this food here is going to be $17 per person. They're never going to say, plus the service charge. So you've got to keep that in the back of your head constantly. What's the service charge? What's the real price that they're going to charge me at the end of this? Venues will require you to use their catering service. If it's a university, they most likely have outsourced their food prep to some large organization. For example, Aramark is very popular. And usually, to get the best deal with those food prep organizations, the universities have given out exclusive rights to those companies. So, for example, if you have a university that's using Aramark, somewhere in their contract between the university and Aramark, it says nobody else except Aramark is going to serve food on this campus. And if that's the case, you're stuck going with them at their prices. And believe me, their prices are crazy. If you've enjoyed a bottle of water at this YAPC, TPF paid $3 for that bottle of water. If you've enjoyed a can of soda, TPF paid $3 for that can of soda. That's the way it works. Plus the service charge. So when people see that it costs $130,000 to run a YAPC, that's a big reason why. Last year at YAPC, we had a social event on Tuesday night. We had the banquet. And the reason that we're not having the banquet this year is because we ordered food for 350 people at $40 per plate. And we had about 150 show up. Plus the service charge. So it's expensive. It's very expensive, and you have to watch out for what you're doing. So a lot of times when you're running an event, it's a good idea to try to find locations off-site if you can to have some of your meals. There's an interesting thing that hotels have called patching fees. Now, AV equipment is super expensive at a conference. To rent a projector at a conference, I kid you not, it was literally cheaper for TPF to go out and purchase the projectors that we're using this week than to rent them from the hotel for a week. We can buy that projector right there, use it all week, throw it in the dumpster at the end of the week, and save money over what it would have cost to rent the projector. Just a minute, Uri.
What's the dumpster fee?
That's a good question. So, hotels know this. They understand that that's what's going on, so they've invented this thing called patching fees. What the patching fee is basically, if you're going to bring your equipment into our hotel and expect it to plug into any of our systems at all, we're going to charge you a fee for plugging your cord into our system. And that's a patching fee. So for example, these are our microphones and our audio mixer, but we're using their house system. So we've paid $50 for the right to plug this microphone into their speakers. And that's how they make money. Room attrition. Room attrition is basically, we've asked the hotel to reserve a certain number of rooms for our event. We say, we want 720 room nights for this event. and we want you to give us a good rate. And they say, okay, we'll set aside 720 room nights for this event, and we'll give you this price per night. But you have to promise us that at least 85% of those rooms are going to be filled. If you don't get to that 85% mark, we're going to charge you for the difference. And that's what room attrition is. So conferences expect you at least 9 months ahead of your event to know exactly how many rooms you're going to need to book for their event. Okay, so 2 documents that you need to know about, the event contract and something called the BEO. The contract's pretty self-explanatory. It's the agreement with the hotel where you say this is how much we're going to pay, this is what services they're going to provide in a broad overview. The other contract is called the BEO. The BEO is your enemy. The BEO stands for Banquet Event Order, and it is a written, detailed specification of exactly what's going to happen during your event and exactly how much every single item is going to cost. The BEO for this event that you're at right now was 17 pages long, and it lists line by line by line, and you have to read every line and check off every item. And then you'll call the hotel and say, okay, we need to make these changes. And they will generate a brand new set of BEOs and send it to you. And you have to read it line by line to make sure they only change the things that you asked for. So, yeah. Like I said, I'm trying to encourage you to do this. So I'm going to move on now.
That's $3 down the drain.
Well, it's paid for, so you better enjoy it. That's okay. So, what I want to say is simply, I want you to, if you are into this, keep trying, and by that I mean plan as if you're going to do it again. Even if you have no intention of doing it again, plan as if you are. Keep records. Keep track of what worked and what didn't. At the end of your conference, everybody sit down and talk about what worked and what didn't. Put together a document. That's what we do for YAPSE. Last year, on the Thursday after YAPSE, we all got together at a restaurant in Utah and started talking about what worked, what didn't. We put together a document, and that was meeting 1 of the planning team for this year. Even if you never run an event again, it's useful to have that data. Heck, publish it. Let other people learn from your mistakes. Focus on how you might want to improve your event in the future. This year, TPF made a decent capital expenditure on AV equipment for this event with the intention that we can use it year after year. We're looking ahead, and we're saying, okay, how can we not only improve this event, but make future events even better? Some of you might be saying, okay, well, that's great, but I'm not interested in working a Perl workshop. I want to host YAPSE. Well, that's great. I want you to host YAPSE too. The days of local ProMonger groups going off on their own and hosting a YAPSE are pretty much over. At this point, we have a conferences committee, we have a team, and that team is going to have someone that's going to be the lead organizer. So if you want to be a lead organizer, get involved with YAPSE. Get involved this Thursday. We're going to be going out to a restaurant and talking about what we're going to do next time. So get involved. So, but there's still a place for a local team. If you want to see YAPSE in your town, there are still things that we can have you help with. The responsibilities are going to vary year to year. What we want is people that can help bring the local flavor to the event. So, I didn't have enough time for questions, but I'll be available for questions pretty much any time. And I guess my point here is we want to see you get involved. We want to see more Perl conferences happen. We want to see Perl workshops all across the country. Anybody that wants to be a part of YAPSE is welcome to join. We have 2 requirements to be a YAPSE organizer. 1, you have to show up to the meetings, and 2, you have to be willing to do work. If you meet those two requirements, congratulations. You'll get a fancy shirt next year. Thank you for your time. I'll be around if you have questions. Have a good day.